You've been feeling it your entire life, haven't you? That quiet tension between who you are and the world around you. That sense that something about you just doesn't quite fit. Not in a broken way, not because something's wrong, but because something's different. Deep down, even as a child, you knew. You could walk into a room and instantly feel what no one else was acknowledging. You could sense energy shifts, unspoken thoughts, hidden emotions, things others seemed blind to. And no matter how much you tried to be normal, to move with the crowd, to laugh when they laughed and chase what they chased, there was always this undeniable knowing inside of you. You are not like them. And that's not your imagination. That's not you being too sensitive, too distant, or too disconnected. That's you being chosen. You didn't come here to blend in. You didn't come here to follow the masses. You came here with an assignment, a spiritual purpose that most people around you wouldn't even be able to comprehend if you tried to explain it. You've probably spent years wondering why you felt like an outsider in your own family, why friendships seemed hard to maintain, why being around certain people drained you, even if they didn't do anything wrong, why you could be surrounded by others and still feel profoundly alone. But I'm here to tell you this. What looked like rejection was actually redirection. What felt like abandonment was alignment. You were never meant to fit in because you were always meant to stand apart. You have been marked since birth, an invisible seal placed upon your spirit. It's why you couldn't enjoy the same things everyone else did. It's why superficial conversations bored you. It's why you always craved depth, truth, and meaning, even when you couldn't explain why. There's a reason for that. There's a reason your soul kept pulling you away from the noise, the crowds, the chaos. There's a reason certain environments felt like too much, even when everyone else seemed fine. Your soul isn't ordinary. Your spirit isn't built like theirs. You are spiritually encoded to operate at a higher frequency. And because of that, you were born with spiritual resistance to the world's illusions. And now, you're starting to remember. You're starting to see the patterns, the seasons of isolation, the sudden exits of people from your life, the jobs or opportunities that didn't work out. Not because you failed, but because they were never meant to carry the weight of your calling. You've questioned yourself. You've wondered if maybe you were broken, maybe too sensitive, maybe just different in the wrong way. But I need you to hear this loud and clear. You were never broken. You were never too much. You were just awakened in a world that's still asleep. You see what they can't see. You feel what they suppress. And that is what makes you the chosen one. So when you find yourself pulling away from certain crowds, when your spirit suddenly goes quiet around people who drain you, when you feel overwhelmed in rooms where everyone else seems fine, don't question it. Don't try to force yourself to stay. That's your spiritual compass sounding the alarm. That's your divine DNA saying, this isn't for you. And you've been guided your entire life, even when you didn't realize it. Even in your darkest moments, you were never alone. You were being protected, preserved, and prepared. You see, being chosen doesn't always come with trumpets and celebration. Sometimes it shows up as loneliness, as confusion, as walking through seasons where no one seems to understand you. But here's the truth they won't tell you. Before a chosen one is revealed, they are refined, in secret, in silence, away from the noise. Because the Most High never sends his vessels into battle until they're fully armored. And that's what your journey has been. A spiritual preparation. You've been pulled away so you could hear the whispers of God more clearly. So you could learn to trust your inner voice over the outer noise. So you could build discernment in a world built on distraction. But now, you're waking up. And as you awaken, so does your power. So does your memory of who you really are and why you came. And once that switch flips, once that inner knowing returns, there's no going back to being normal. Because you finally understand your discomfort in crowds, your need for space, your constant desire to be alone. It's not a flaw. It's evidence. Evidence that your soul has been chosen to carry something sacred. You are a spiritual outlier, not because you're broken, but because you're built differently. And everything you've been through has been leading up to this moment of recognition, this moment of remembrance. You're not just different, you're divinely different. And now you see it. Now that you've accepted that you're chosen, here comes the next layer of truth, the one most people overlook. Your energy is not for everyone. You are not called to mingle in every circle or open yourself to every soul. Because your energy is sacred, your presence is powerful, your spirit is spiritually disruptive to those who are still asleep. And that disruption isn't random, it's by design. You were set apart on purpose, to fulfill a purpose that could never survive if you were constantly surrounded by low vibrational energy. And so, the divine has placed a natural wall around you. You've felt it. That invisible barrier that keeps certain people out. The ones who come close, but never fully in. The ones who seem drawn to you, but then slowly back away, confused by a feeling they can't explain. It's because your energy carries a different frequency, one that exposes, purifies, and awakens. And not everyone is ready for that kind of presence. It's not rejection, it's protection. Because if your energy were left unguarded, the world would consume it, misuse it, and drain it. So you've been insulated. And at times, yes, it's felt lonely. But that loneliness has served as your training ground. You're not being punished, you're being preserved. God has hidden you in plain sight, not to forget you, but to fortify you. To build you in silence so when the time comes for you to step into your purpose, you do it with clarity, conviction, and spiritual armor. You are not made for the crowd. You are made for the calling. And that calling requires you to be careful with your energy, intentional with your presence, and discerning with your access. Because the truth is, not everyone deserves to stand in your light. When people say, "You've changed," they're right, you have. But not because you became cold or distant, because you became aware of who you are, aware of what drains you, aware of what no longer fits. And once you become aware, there's no going back. You're not avoiding people out of fear. You're honoring your soul out of wisdom. The more awake you become, the more selective you must be. Not because you're better than others, but because your mission requires spiritual precision. You are here to build something eternal, not entertain the temporary. So yes, you're different. And now you're finally seeing why that difference was the plan all along. Have you ever walked into a room and felt like you were suffocating? Like the air itself shifted the moment you stepped inside? You tried to smile, tried to be present, but something in your spirit started to shut down. You couldn't explain it. Nothing bad had happened. No one had said a word. And yet, everything felt off. That's not anxiety. That's not moodiness. That's a spiritual frequency mismatch. Your energy was never built to blend with the energy of the masses. You've been awakened. And when an awakened spirit walks into a space filled with confusion, darkness, ego, and unconscious energy, it instantly feels that internal resistance, that clash. Because you're not moving in the same vibration. You're not tuned to the same channel. The truth is, most people walk around completely disconnected from their spirit. They're led by fear, ego, vanity, and illusions. They absorb what the world feeds them, through media, through generational patterns, through trauma that they've never healed. And they carry that weight into every interaction. Meanwhile, you walk in with clarity. You walk in with presence. You walk in with light. And that light disrupts things. It stirs what's been asleep in others. And instead of facing that discomfort, most people push it away. That's why you feel the shift when you enter. That's why certain people suddenly go quiet. That's why you're met with subtle resistance, side eyes, or random hostility from people you've never wronged. Your spirit is speaking, and so is theirs, whether they're conscious of it or not. Your energy activates something, and sometimes that activation triggers their shadows. This isn't about being better than anyone. It's about being different, spiritually different, energetically rare. And when your frequency is that refined, that aligned with truth, it becomes incompatible with the noise of the world. Think of it like this. You're a finely tuned instrument, and most people are playing out of tune. So when you step into the orchestra of life, it doesn't harmonize, it clashes. And the more sensitive you are, the more you feel it. You feel the envy behind the smile. You feel the tension under the small talk. You feel the spiritual weight in places where others feel nothing at all. You're not imagining that heaviness. You're receiving it. Your soul is reading the room before your mind even catches up. That's not paranoia. That's your gift. The cost of that gift, though, is that it becomes exhausting. Not because people are inherently bad, but because they're carrying so much energetic baggage that they don't even know how to process. And without spiritual boundaries, you end up processing it for them. Your spirit becomes a filter for energy that was never yours to carry. You walk away from casual conversations feeling heavy. You leave events feeling anxious. You sit in silence afterward wondering, why do I feel this way? Nothing even happened. But something did happen. Your spirit detected what the room was trying to hide, and it absorbed it, because that's what light does when it's not guarded. This is why you often feel more peace in solitude than you do in a crowd. Because when you're alone, you're not at war with 100 different energies at once. Your field isn't being bombarded by emotional static. You're not dodging projections, hidden envy, or fake smiles. You're just you, pure, clear, free. And that freedom isn't about loneliness. It's about spiritual hygiene. You're cleansing, rebalancing, returning to your center. Because when you're surrounded by too many mismatched frequencies for too long, your own starts to dim. Your light becomes muffled under the weight of their confusion. And when that happens, you lose clarity. You forget who you are. You start questioning yourself. You doubt your path. And that's exactly what the enemy wants. To blur your vision so you can't walk in purpose. But now you know better. Now you can see it. Not everyone is meant to sit in your presence. Not because you're too good for them, but because your presence demands truth. And not everyone is ready for truth. Some people are addicted to their own illusions, and your light threatens to shatter that illusion. Without saying a word, your spirit confronts their spiritual sleep. And that confrontation isn't always welcomed. That's why you'll be misunderstood. That's why people will create distance. That's why some will project their wounds onto you. Don't take it personally. Take it as confirmation that your energy is doing what it was designed to do. And then there's this other layer, this often hidden but deeply important truth. People don't just sense your light, they use it. Not always maliciously, but unconsciously. You've noticed it. The ones who come to you when they're broken, the ones who unload their pain, their trauma, their confusion, onto you. And because your heart is open, you listen, you comfort, you guide, and they leave lighter, while you leave heavier. That, chosen one, is the unspoken burden of being empathic and spiritually awakened. You are a magnet for souls in pain, a lighthouse for the lost. And while that's a beautiful gift, it can also be your greatest weakness if you don't learn to protect it. Your energy becomes a spiritual well that others drink from. But if you're not refilling that well, if you're constantly giving, constantly holding space, constantly absorbing, you will find yourself depleted, disconnected, and defeated. And the scariest part? You won't even know why. You'll just feel off. That's why boundaries aren't optional for you. They're sacred. You must learn to discern between who's meant to walk with you and who's just passing through to take. Not every cry is yours to answer. Not every wound is yours to heal. You are not here to be everyone's therapist, everyone's savior, or everyone's source. You are here to serve your purpose, and that purpose requires strength, clarity, and peace. Which means, sometimes, you have to pull back, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. You must begin to see your solitude not as a setback, but as a sanctuary, a sacred space where your energy is restored, where your spirit is recalibrated, where the Most High can pour back into you. Because when you're constantly surrounded by draining people and chaotic energy, you're not in alignment with your higher self. You're in survival mode, and survival mode will never allow you to fulfill your divine mission. You need stillness to hear God's voice. You need quiet to receive divine downloads. You need space to feel yourself again, after being entangled in everyone else's emotions. So if you've been wondering why you can't stay in certain relationships, why you can't force yourself to socialize like others, why you crave peace, quiet, nature, or just time alone, it's because your soul is trying to protect your energy. It's trying to remind you who you are, what you're carrying, and what you're here to do. Not everyone will understand it. But the ones who are truly meant for you, your real tribe, they won't drain you. They'll recognize you. They'll pour into you the same way you've been pouring into everyone else. Until then, protect your peace like it's your life, because spiritually, it is. Your energy is not for everyone, and that is not a weakness. That is your divine protection. You may not have realized it at first. You may have felt confused when everyone else seemed to be surrounded by people, living loudly, constantly in motion. Yet you were pulled into silence, into solitude, into seasons where the phone didn't ring, the door didn't knock, and the companionship you longed for just wasn't there. And for a while, that silence felt like punishment. It felt like the world forgot about you. But chosen one, what if I told you that your solitude wasn't abandonment, but preparation? What if I told you that the very thing you thought was breaking you was actually building you? You see, when you are chosen, your path will look nothing like the path of the masses. The crowd is loud, the crowd is noisy. But purpose? Purpose is born in the quiet. The world will tell you that being alone is something to avoid. But the Most High will pull you into isolation, not to harm you, but to refine you. Because a soul like yours with a mission like yours cannot be formed in chaos. It must be forged in stillness. Solitude is not a curse. It is sacred space. It is holy ground. It's where God does his deepest work in you. And if you look closely at every spiritual warrior who came before you, every prophet, every visionary, every healer, you'll notice a pattern. Before they were revealed, they were removed. They were pulled away from the noise, hidden from the crowd, taken through the wilderness. Moses had 40 years in the desert. David was isolated in the fields before he ever saw a throne. Even Christ withdrew to the mountain to pray, to fast, to hear clearly. And if they had to go through the silence, so do you. Because silence is not the absence of purpose, it is the preparation for it. It is in the silence where you confront the deepest parts of yourself, where the masks fall off, where the noise of the world fades out and the whispers of the divine become clear. In that stillness, your real voice is uncovered. Your spiritual hearing sharpens. You begin to see things you never saw before, feel things others are too distracted to notice. And it's not always comfortable. In fact, sometimes it's painful. Because the silence doesn't just reveal your gifts, it reveals your wounds. And that's part of the process. The Most High uses that solitude to not only awaken you, but to cleanse you, to heal the places that can't come with you into your next level, to strip away everything that would weigh down your calling. And if you've been pulled away, if you've found yourself in that season where people have vanished, plans have fallen through, doors have closed, and you're left wondering, why am I alone? Understand this. You are not just alone. You are being set apart. You are in divine training, spiritual boot camp. And just like a soldier is not prepared in public, you are being prepared in private. Because what's coming next will require strength that only solitude can build. And if you skip this season, if you rush through it trying to fill the void with distractions or unaligned people, you'll miss the wisdom that can only be found in silence. So instead of resisting it, embrace it. Lean into it. Treat your solitude as sacred, because it is. It's the space where your spirit breathes, where divine strategy is downloaded, and where your next chapter is written. Not by your hands, but by God's. And then something shifts. One day, without warning, you begin to see yourself differently. You realize that the peace you feel in solitude is more nourishing than the noise of any crowd. You realize that the clarity you gain alone is far more valuable than the approval you once craved from others. You begin to recognize that your solitude isn't empty. It's anointed. It's full of presence, full of alignment, full of direction. You begin to move differently, speak differently, think differently, because the silence has shaped you. And now, when you step back into the world, you don't come back the same. You come back with vision, with discernment, with spiritual armor that was only formed in the fire of isolation. And that's when you begin to understand, solitude was never your enemy. It was your shelter. It was the divine saying, before I send you out there, let me build you in here. And once you've gone through that process, once you've tasted the peace and clarity that solitude brings, something else happens. You stop craving the crowd, not out of fear, not because you're bitter, but because you finally understand that you were never made for the crowd to begin with. You were made to stand apart, to move differently, to lead, not follow. And leadership comes with cost. It comes with separation. Because when you are chosen, the crowd will not understand you. They may like you, admire you, even be drawn to your light, but they will never fully get you. And that's not rejection. That's the reality of being different by design. You weren't created to blend in. You weren't born to follow every trend, adopt every belief, engage in every conversation. Your soul operates at a different frequency, and that frequency simply doesn't match the volume of the world. You've probably felt it all your life, how exhausting it is to pretend to care about things that don't matter to you. How hard it is to engage in surface-level talk when your spirit craves depth, truth, realness. And every time you try to force yourself to fit in, to be normal, to play the game, your soul rebels. You feel it in your chest, in your gut, in your energy. That resistance isn't weakness. That's your spirit saying, this is not your lane. And the more you grow spiritually, the more that resistance increases. The same environments that once felt okay suddenly feel heavy. The people you used to be close with now feel distant. Not because you're judging them, not because you don't love them, but because your spirit has outgrown that level of connection. You're not moving with ego anymore. You're moving with purpose. And purpose requires peace. It requires space. It requires intentionality. That means you can no longer afford to be in rooms that drain you, around energy that confuses you, or in conversations that lead nowhere. Every word, every connection, every step has to matter. Because your mission is too important to get tangled in the temporary. The divine didn't create you to be liked by the crowd. You were created to awaken the crowd. And awakening others means you will always stand slightly outside of their comfort zone. You will be misunderstood, misread, even misjudged. And that's okay, because your value doesn't come from being accepted. It comes from being authentic. You are here to disturb the slumber, not join in. And that means your walk will look different. Your presence will feel different. And your silence will speak louder than their noise. People may ask why you're distant, why you're quiet, why you're not as accessible as you used to be. Let them wonder. Let them talk. Your energy is not public property. It is divine currency. it must be spent wisely. So when the world tries to pull you into its chaos, when the crowd calls your name, when guilt tries to convince you to show up in places your spirit has outgrown, remember who you are. You are chosen. You are marked. You are here on assignment. And assignments require alignment. You don't need to explain your peace. You don't need to apologize for protecting your energy. And you don't need permission to walk the path that was handcrafted for your soul. Let the crowd move how it moves. You move with purpose. Move with power. And above all, move with God. Because when you do, everything you thought you lost in the silence will return to you in divine timing, multiplied, purified, and aligned with your highest calling. Not everyone should have access to you. That's not pride. That's not ego. That's wisdom. Chosen one, your energy is rare. Your presence is sacred. What you carry inside of you, your peace, your discernment, your intuition, your light, isn't common, and it shouldn't be treated like it is. There are people who will only value you when they can take from you. They're not attracted to your heart. They're drawn to your power, to your clarity, to your healing nature. They don't love you because they see you. They love how you make them feel. And that might be okay for the world, but not for someone like you. You were never designed to be spiritually available to just anyone. You've been entrusted with something divine. And when God entrusts you with something holy, He also gives you the responsibility to guard it fiercely. You are a vessel, and vessels must be kept clean, protected, and intentional about what they allow inside. When you let just anyone near you, when you pour into people who have no capacity to pour back, you drain yourself. Slowly, subtly, but surely. You start losing your clarity. You second-guess your inner knowing. You find yourself feeling off, confused, restless. That's not random. That's what happens when your sacred energy gets entangled with energy that is unaligned, unclean, or unequally yoked. You're not meant to carry everyone. You're not meant to fix people who refuse to do their own work. You're not meant to stay connected to souls who only show up when they need something, but vanish when you need rest. The world will tell you to be available, to be kind, to be nice, to never say no. But the divine says, protect what I've placed in you. You cannot be effective in your mission if you're constantly being drained by emotional leeches, energy vampires, or unhealed souls who see you as their escape. You're not their escape. You're their mirror. And mirrors are powerful. They reflect what others are unwilling to face. And sometimes, when people get too close to your light, they begin to feel the weight of their own shadows. That's why some people fall away after spending time with you. It's not your fault. It's not your responsibility. It's spiritual. They weren't ready for the frequency you walk in. And rather than rising to meet you, they choose to step back. And that's okay. Let them go. Because holding on to people who resist your light will only slow down your journey. You are not here to shrink yourself to make others feel comfortable in their darkness. You are here to shine, unapologetically. And shining requires spiritual boundaries. Start seeing your energy as currency. Would you hand out your money to every stranger you meet? Number. So, why hand out your spiritual currency to anyone who asks for it with a smile? People need to earn your access, not through flattery, not through fake support, but through alignment, through truth, through mutual growth. Your circle should be a sacred place, not a revolving door. Not everyone is meant to walk with you, and the longer you keep people in your life who aren't aligned with your spirit, the more you delay your own elevation. Some people aren't toxic, they're just not tuned to your frequency. And staying around that too long will confuse your spirit. There's a reason why you've been feeling the urge to pull back lately. Why even small conversations feel heavy. Why certain people drain you without saying a word. That's your spirit sounding the alarm. That's the divine whispering, you've outgrown this energy. Move on. Don't ignore that voice. Don't silence that inner nudge. You've come too far, grown too much, endured too many trials to fall back into the habit of giving your time, love, and wisdom to people who were never meant to carry your next chapter. Your energy is not common, your presence is not casual, and your soul is not for sale. Protect it, prioritize it, because when you treat your energy like it's sacred, the right people will too. And when you do start protecting it, when you stop answering every call, stop explaining your worth, stop entertaining draining situations, something powerful happens. Clarity. Chosen one, there's a stillness that enters your life when you finally honor your own energy. You begin to hear the voice of the divine more clearly. You begin to trust your intuition without second guessing. You walk into rooms and immediately know who's real and who's just performing. You stop craving validation because you already know who you are. That clarity is not accidental. It's spiritual alignment. It's what happens when you release distractions and make room for divine instruction. Because God doesn't speak over chaos. He speaks in peace. And when your life is filled with noise, your vision becomes blurry. Clarity is a spiritual weapon. It helps you recognize traps before they form. It helps you sense hidden motives behind pretty words. It helps you stay focused on your purpose when the world is screaming for your attention. And you've probably noticed this. The clearer you become, the more the enemy tries to distract you. The moment your spirit gets still, something or someone always shows up to pull you off course. That's not coincidence. That's strategy. Distraction is one of the enemy's favorite tools. If he can't destroy you, he'll just divide your focus. Because a divided mind can't hear divine instruction. And when your calling is as heavy as yours, you can't afford to live in confusion. You need to move with precision. That's why the divine has been stripping certain things away. That's why people have fallen off. That's why your social circle has gotten smaller. Not to isolate you, but to refine you. You don't need more people. You need more alignment. You don't need more conversations. You need more confirmation. And confirmation doesn't come through noise. It comes through clarity. And clarity requires quiet. That's why your alone time has increased. That's why your tolerance for fake conversations has vanished. That's why small talk feels suffocating and meaningless chatter wears you out. Your spirit is hungry for truth. Your mission is demanding focus. You are being called to a level where distractions simply can't follow. The world is loud, the crowd is chaotic. But you, chosen one, were made for clarity. Your soul was designed to move in step with divine timing, not cultural noise. You're not here to be trendy. You're here to be timeless. And timeless messages are received in silence, in stillness, in that sacred space where you shut the world out and tune your heart back in. So if the world is pulling at you, if people are asking why you've gone quiet, why you don't show up like you used to, why you seem distant, don't explain yourself. Just smile. Because what they don't understand is that you're not absent. You're aligning. You're not lost. You're listening. You're not behind. You're being positioned. And when that positioning is complete, when the divine says, now, you will move forward with such clarity, such spiritual authority, that no distraction, no voice, no crowd will be able to shake your path. You are being stripped to be sharpened. You are being emptied to be filled. And in the stillness of this season, your next instructions are being written on your heart. So honor it, protect it, and never again apologize for choosing clarity over chaos. You are chosen. And chosen ones don't follow the noise. They become the message. There's something about your presence that people can't quite explain. They're drawn to you, pulled in by something they can't fully name. It's not just your words. It's not even your actions. It's your energy, the light you carry, the frequency you emit. There's a spiritual weight to you, even when you're silent. Even when you walk into a room and say nothing, things shift. People notice. Conversations change. Eyes follow. Some are inspired, others feel intimidated, and a few even become uncomfortable without knowing why. That's not arrogance. That's not imagination. That's impact. You're not just seen, you're felt. Your soul speaks before your mouth ever opens. And not everyone is ready to hear what it has to say. This is why people have always reacted to you in extremes. Some love you instantly. They cling to your energy, fascinated, enchanted, even obsessed. They want to be near you, to understand you, to have what you have. Others distance themselves, without reason or explanation. They start strong, but fade out. They get nervous around your silence. They become cold without cause. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your light exposed their shadows. Your truth triggered their illusions. And when someone isn't ready to face what's been buried inside them, your energy becomes a mirror they can't bear to look into. You might have asked yourself, why do people pull away from me? Or, why do I keep attracting those who either idolize me or turn against me? And the answer is simple, but deep. Your energy activates what's dormant in others. Some aren't ready to rise, so they run. Others mistake your power for something to control, to possess, to use for their own gain. But very few are ready to meet you at your level, not because you're better than them, but because your vibration requires honesty, accountability, and growth. And that's a language most people haven't learned to speak yet. So you end up being misunderstood, misjudged, projected onto. You become the villain in someone's story, not because of your actions, but because your presence forced them to face what they've been avoiding. That's a burden few talk about. The burden of being spiritually awake in a world that's fast asleep. The burden of carrying light when everyone's become comfortable in the dark. The burden of being magnetic to both the healed and the broken. And the truth is, many people are unconsciously drawn to your peace, but unprepared for your presence. They come close expecting comfort, not realizing your energy was never meant to keep them comfortable. It was meant to wake them up. And that awakening often comes with resistance. That's why people who once praised you might suddenly turn cold. That's why you felt betrayal, jealousy, envy, even hate from people who once called you family, friend, or soulmate. It's because something in you challenges something in them. Something you didn't force, something you didn't ask for, but something real nonetheless. And here's the deeper truth. That reaction isn't about you at all. It's about the role you've been assigned. You are a catalyst, a disruptor, a divine reminder that there's more to this life than the surface. Your very existence is a spiritual alarm clock, and people who are still trying to sleep through their calling will see you as a threat. Not because you said anything offensive, but because your being exposes the gap between who they are and who they were meant to become. Your light is a flashlight in their dark room, and not everyone appreciates being woken up. But don't let that stop you. Don't dim your light just because others squint in your presence. You weren't made to be digestible. You were made to be undeniable. So the next time someone pulls away, let them. The next time someone reacts negatively to your peace, your strength, your clarity, don't shrink. Don't beg to be understood. Don't contort yourself into something smaller just to make others comfortable. You weren't sent to blend in. You were sent to stand out. And yes, it's lonely at times. Yes, it hurts when people misunderstand you. But know this, the very energy that makes you too much for some is exactly what makes you just right for your assignment. You are not here to be liked by everyone. You are here to wake up those who are ready. You are here to reflect truth, even when truth is inconvenient. You are here to walk boldly in the light, knowing that those who are meant to journey with you will recognize you by your frequency, not your familiarity. And once you accept that truth, fully, deeply, something powerful happens. You stop chasing approval. You stop explaining yourself. You stop waiting for people to get you. You finally understand. Your separation from the crowd was never rejection. It was redirection. The divine removed certain people from your life, not to hurt you, but to free you. Because your calling requires clarity. Your mission demands focus. And focus can't survive in places where you're constantly doubting yourself, questioning your worth, or trying to prove your value to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. When you are chosen, you must accept that not everyone will celebrate you. Not everyone will clap. Not everyone will stay. But that's not the loss. The loss would be betraying yourself just to keep them. So if you feel alone, if your path has been narrow, if it seems like everyone around you is living their lives freely while you're being refined in silence, understand this. You are not behind. You are not missing out. You are being positioned. You are being prepared. You are being stripped of the unnecessary so you can carry the extraordinary. And when the time is right, when your spirit is fortified and your mission is ready, you will be released. Not as someone seeking approval from the world, but as someone sent by the divine. Someone who walks with clarity. Someone who speaks with authority. Someone who no longer asks for permission, because heaven has already approved your purpose. You are not weak for feeling deeply. You are not wrong for needing space. You are not broken because you can't exist in chaos. You are chosen, and chosen ones are not assigned to the crowd. They are called to rise above it. So stop trying to explain your process to those who were never meant to understand it. Stop asking the blind to validate your vision, and stop delaying your destiny just to keep familiar company. This is your time to walk boldly, to walk freely, to walk alone if necessary, until you align with those who truly see you. Because once you stop resisting your uniqueness, once you fully embrace that you are here for something bigger, everything shifts. Your energy elevates, your discernment sharpens, and your spirit aligns with the divine flow of your life. You are not here to be popular. You are here to be powerful. You are not here to entertain. You are here to awaken. And the more you step into that truth, the more heaven will support your every move. You've been hidden, yes. You've been misunderstood, definitely. But you've also been called. And now you're ready. No more shrinking. No more silence. No more waiting for permission. The world needs your light. It needs your truth. It needs your clarity. But most of all, it needs you to walk as who you really are. The time for dimming your brilliance is over. The season of shrinking to survive is done. You're not here to survive. You're here to lead. And the path ahead, it's not easy, but it's sacred. And you were made for it. So rise, chosen one. Rise and walk in your divine power, because this world won't change until you do.